What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Courtside Soundoff podcast. Once again, I'm Josh Evanoff. Welcome by the one and only man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, future Jiu-Jitsu champion, Angel Ortega. Admittedly, guys, not a whole lot to talk about this week. We got UFC Vegas to go over. We had a little bit of news, including Haney and Loma. However, we also did put out the call to fan questions. We actually got a lot of them, so we appreciate you guys. As always, they're brought to you by two fantastic sponsors of the show, Rogue Energy and ELYXR. That is code Soundoff for 10% off of both. Rogue Energy, they keep me fueled up. They keep me going throughout my day. I've been working a lot lately, but also I've been working in the gym. Angel, it's summertime. I gotta get the six pack going. I gotta start training for my Misfits debut. You know what it is. So, and you know what keeps me going? Rogue Energy. And it can keep you going as well for code Soundoff 10% off. However, while I am also in the gym getting ready, I also have my own needs. I got a little bit of insomnia. I don't talk about it a whole lot. You know what keeps me going to bed peacefully every night? ELYXR. With their Delta 8, 9, 10 HHC CBD products, they have incredible stuff. They have a wide selection from gels, joints, gummies, and so on and so forth. I mean, you can get it with code Soundoff for 10% off. Fantastic sponsor of the show. Big fan of ELYXR, as well as Rogue Energy. Angel, last Saturday night for the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada, women's strawweights going head-to-head in the main event. Mackenzie Dern, she headed into fight week kind of talking about how she was having issues. She got divorced recently. She had issues with her training. Jason Perillo, her lead coach, was out of apparently she wasn't there for most of her training camp due to his association with Luke Rockhold. Luke Rockhold had a big fight, so she was really she had a lot going on going into this one. It seemed like a bit of a trap fight. At least that's kind of what I thought it might be. Instead, dude, Mackenzie Dern leveled up on Saturday night. I don't know if we've ever seen Angela Hill beaten with the ease that Mackenzie Dern did it on Saturday. She wins by unanimous decision 49-43, 49-44, and 49-44. Fucking insane scorecards. In the end, Mackenzie Dern gets the win, calls out Rose, and I'm going to use it next. Is that a fight you want to see? And what do you think about Mackenzie picking up the win?
No, amazing. I mean, that has to be probably the best performance of her career, right? I mean, obviously he's had submissions, he's had finishes, but there was just something about that. It was like, fuck, man, that was it right there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Best she's ever probably looked. Granted, you could talk about the opponent or whatever, but she did what she had to do, and she beat her the way, at least on scorecard wise, it looks fucking amazing. Fuck, man. The call out itself, I mean, look, I respect her for it. Is that necessarily what I want next? I don't know, man. I don't know if I really want, I kinda think she should get another one in there. Someone else, someone different. I was actually thinking about a Carla Esparza matchup, actually. Basically, she was just holding the belt. She's ranked number 3 or something like that, somewhere along the lines of that. That's something that interested me. I respect her for calling out Rose, especially since Rose has been out a while. I mean, if they do end up going in that direction, sure. I think that'd be a good choice, but not necessarily the direction I was looking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you, man. I think a Mackenzie Dern versus Carla Esparza fight could be fun. I believe Carla is pregnant and will be giving birth to a kid soon. But
whoa, congratulations.
Congratulations to her, but obviously Mackenzie just fought, and I'm pretty sure Carla's going to give birth soon. So depending on how Mackenzie Dern's timeline matches up, it could work. She only fights once every 6 to 8 months. So, and this is a banger right here. So we'll see. I think there's a lot of interesting fights for Mackenzie Dern. I'm very, this seemed like a fight that she needed. This is a win that it's very rare that you see this side of Mackenzie Dern come out, but she was not trying to beat Angela Hill. She was trying to fucking murder Angela Hill in there. You know what I mean? She took the anger of a divorce, a bad training camp, and a loss in her previous fight all out on Angela Hill over a span of 25 minutes. So, incredible win by her. I'm very interested to see what she does next. Admittedly, I think a Rose fight would be fun. Like you mentioned, Carla. If the timeline matches up, I'd be down for that as well. I think that Mackenzie Dern, she's in a good spot right now. I think at the women's strawweight division, the UFC, we've talked about how they basically just tried so hard to not give a title shot to anybody but like the big names in that division. You know, Rose, Joanna, Wei Li, Andrade. But now, you know, Andrade has suffered a couple losses. Rose, you know, God knows. I saw that she put up a thing about chemtrails the other day. Did you see that, Angel? Rose on mute. She hasn't fought in a year because she's too busy trying to hunt the chemtrails.
What?
You didn't know about this?
No.
She posted something on it. It doesn't matter, but I just thought it was funny, you know, because Rose, she went after Wei Li for the whole communist thing. She said Wei Li was like a communist or something, and then the whole chemtrails thing. I'm like, I'm starting to wonder if Rose is not all the way there, you know? Like, I don't know if she's coming or if she's going, you know, sometimes, but, you know, regardless, she's not fighting right now. Joanna's retired. Wei Li has the belt, so now you have more time for these new contenders to rise up. And Mackenzie Dern, I mean, dude, realistically, only another win, boom, title shot. I mean,
that's the of the division.
Yeah, and I mean, also she's entertaining, she's attractive, she has a lot going for her, which makes it easier for her to get a title shot than some, you know, poor Yan Xiaonan who's been, dude, Yan Xiaonan has been fighting through the trenches, like digging through World War II trying to get a fucking title shot, you know. Same thing for Marina Rodriguez, you know what I mean? Just those two stick out. It's just like the UFC's like, fuck you, you know, like you're not getting a title shot, but
you don't deserve it.
Exactly. I mean, that's kind of my closing thoughts on the main event. Not a whole lot to say here, but it was a fun main event, man. But main event, dude. I mean, we gotta start talking about Anthony Fluffy Hernandez as a fucking problem, man. Ends up defeating Edmund Shabazian by TKO in the third round. Classic Edmund fight. He came out looking excellent in round one, gassed, and then got it demolished for the rest of the way. Kind of at the point where I'm legitimately wondering if Edmund Shabazian just has like a medical issue that I don't know about or he doesn't know about, because I don't understand how a dude that's 25 years old, in great shape, and he's not even fighting at heavyweight, he's fighting 185. I don't understand how he only has 5 minutes of gas consistently, but, you know, props to Fluffy Hernandez, man. What did you think about this one?
This one threw me for a loop, man. I thought Edmund looked so good initially. I thought he was going to come back, reset at the start of the second round. Fuck, man, that did not happen. I gotta give credit to Fluffy Hernandez, dude. He is someone you did not expect, at least from how his UFC career started, you know, coming up the Contender Series, you know, did no contest there against Jordan Wright, beat Brendan Allen on the regional scene before that in 2018, a win over Jung Young Park, but is Jung Young Park even still fighting in the UFC? Or actually, he's gained a few wins, my bad. He's on a 3-fight win streak, sorry for the disrespect.
We're all good.
And then a loss to Kevin Holland, which granted, that was during Holland Mania. And then it's 2021, man, submits the black belt killer himself, Rodolfo Vieira, making someone out there some crazy money, gets sidelined because I think he was having injury issues, kind of with a few withdrawals. He was actually supposed to fight Dricus at one point. Ever since then, last year, picking up some good wins right there with Josh Brandon, Mark Andres Burial, and a nice one over former, I guess, was Edmund ranked when he beat, right after he beat Predator Tavares?
I want to say he was, yeah.
Fuck it, we'll say it. Beating formerly ranked Edmund Shabazian, who beat Brad Tavares, who we know for a fact was ranked.
Yeah.
I mean, look, at 29 years of age, he's super young, he has a gas tank, he's super tough, we've seen it. I'm not sure what the ceiling is yet, because look, when you look at Edmund, and how the fight went, you can see like, okay, Edmund had these issues, Fluffy has the skill set, he has a good gas tank, he can push forward, and he brought it back in the second. Alright, makes sense. Going forward though, would you like to see a ranked opponent next? I was thinking about this right after the fight on that night, and I was like, dude, I want to see it. I don't know who it is, someone at the bottom of the 15. I was almost like, does he take over another grappler again? Maybe take on Andre Muniz? You know, maybe a Jack Hermanson fight. I mean, obviously those are kind of names. Those are established people in this division. I don't know. I'm not sure how many people are probably like seeking out a Fluffy Hernandez fight who's not a diehard. But you could put him in a good position in his next fight against a guy who has a following in the division.
No, I agree. And I'm actually currently looking up the rankings right now. It's taking me a bit of a minute. I saw that Dana White's holding a Power Slot VIP sweepstakes, so you know how much I got to go to that. On the UFC's front page, that's what the first thing I saw. So you know I have to make fun of the Power Slap every time I see it. But in terms of the middle, like in terms of what I want next for Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. I think he has to have a ranked guy next. I'm sorry, man. I mean, 29 years old, the way that he's rapidly improving. Because I remember thinking, you know, I mean, we saw him whenever he lost to Holland in Holland Mania. He didn't really stand out. Even after he beat Rodolfo Vieira, I remember thinking, and he had the fight with Josh Fromm, I was like, you know, that's all right, but it's lacking something. These last 2 wins, I feel like he's really put it together. He's hit his stride. And Angel, you know who I want to see him fight next? I think we should just say fuck it, dude. Let's have Andre Muniz versus Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. Let's say fuck it. What do you think?
No, I mean, that was one of the options I gave. I think that's a good choice.
I mean, I think, you know, that's honestly, that's not a fight I really thought of until you mentioned it, because I remember, I think that Andre Muniz deserves a higher ranked guy, but as a fight fan, you know what I mean? In my heart and soul, I feel it, Angel. You know?
But like, it's like I told you, I mean, he needs to fight someone, I think, and it's time. He has to get this, I think it's his time to get a ranked opponent.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, in terms of, I think we should real quickly just talk about Edmen Shahbazyan and his future. What do you think, dude? Another step down, probably? I don't know why his team honestly even took this fight. It seemed like for what they were trying to do, I don't understand why they took this fight to begin with. What do you think about what might be next for Edmund?
I guess you do, man. It's tough. I feel it's heartbreaking because you see the talent is there for the first round, but it's like what is preventing you from going another round? You know, if you want to be world champion, you can't be a 1-round fighter. I mean, you know, unless it's possible for you to do it, but
you got Francis Ngannou power, you can be a 1-round fighter.
Yeah, but he's not doing that. You know, he's not taking guys out now at the higher ranks or some of these higher ranked fighters in 1 round. I mean, it's possible he could, but he's not doing it because these guys are better. They're not going to go down that easily.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the whole thing, is on his rise to the top, he looked like, you know, he had the Francis Ngannou power. He was putting dudes out in 1 round, you know. You know, Brad Tavares knockout, you know, Charles Bird knockout, beat Jack Martian with the ease, you know. And even then, you know, he got a second round knockout back in December, which we kind of thought put him on the right track. This is just a rough matchup. I don't know what he's going to do. You know, I think Edmund is, I hate to say it, I think he's going to go down as a failed prospect. I think he was pushed too much too soon, you know. Because I remember thinking after that first fight where he fought Derek Brunson and he had some success in round 1, and that was the first main event of his career. But then he ended up getting brutalized in the second and third round. And then they threw him at Jack Hermanson, who was another top 5 guy, and he got his ass beat again. And then by the time they matched up with Nasruddin Imavov, I thought they were trying to kill this fucking kid. You know what I mean? So I don't know what he's going to do. They gave him the one tune-up against Dalshalem Gulia. And then he was released afterwards. I don't know what they're going to do with Edmund, dude. I think he's in a bad place. And I don't honestly know what they're going to do, because I thought they took the tune-up. He switched camps, and I was like, all right, let's see. And now you're having the same problems again. It's like, I don't think it was a camp issue, you know? But I don't know what the fuck it is.
Mm-hmm. I think he's in a better place, though, for sure.
Oh, I mean, no offense. I mean, it's funny because they're the same name, but no offense to Edmund, but
yeah.
You know, the trainer Edmund, I don't think it's going to work out too well for him.
Yeah, head movement was not going to fix that.
You know, you ever wonder, like, sometimes I just wonder, like, I wonder what Edmund Tarvernian is doing right now, you know?
Jeez.
I don't say that to be mean. Like, I legitimately, because, like, he pretty much got lucky with Rousey. You know what I mean? I say he got, like, he's had other guys who have done well, and then they've hit a certain wall and they've just broken. Like, he had a boxer who he trained. I think the guy even fought Triple G at one point, and he got knocked out instantly. I remember when Travis Brown headed to Glendale Fight Club and, like, instantly got worse. Same thing for Jake Ellenberger. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm happy for Edmen Shahbazyan that he got away from Edmund Tarvernian, but yeah, he still has a lot of improving to do. I mean, rest of the card, man, I thought UFC Vegas 73 was an Apex card, but I thought for an Apex card it was actually a lot of fun. Which fights do you most want to talk about, man?
Man, we got to skip down a little bit, man. Joaquin Buckley, another highlight finish over Andre Fialho, who at one point didn't look that far from the rankings, had a very hot start to 2022. got slowed down at the end by Jake Matthews after taking taking some very fight literally month after month after month, with only like matter of days in between them and weeks. So a bit rough for him. Lost his last 3, but when you look at them though, Jake Matthews looked fucking great in that fight. We thought he was gonna maybe take a next step forward going after that. I think he followed that one up after a loss to Matthew Spellsberger, but I did not expect Matthew Spellsberger to look that good in that fight. Solikov, who had a fucking crazy finish against him in the 3rd round. I remember that fight. That fucking threw me for a loop. And now a Buckley loss. But look, I don't know. I imagine Andre Fialho can bounce back. He trained at one point at was it ATT? American Top Team. He is now listed under Kill Cliff. I don't know if that's actually updated or not, but I know at one point he was out there and he actually was working a lot with those wrestler guys. So there's a lot to his game that I think we still need to see. He hasn't been able to show off yet. He's 29. He has a hell of a long time, and he's shown he has a very high skill setting and potential, and he's willing to fight very often. For Buckley, though, at 170, man, fuck, what a start. And do you think we'll ever get a potential Kevin Holland Joaquin Buckley rematch at 170?
Shit, that's a banger, dude. It's just, I mean, that's actually, that's the fight he called for.
Did he actually?
I believe so. I believe he did mention it after he won. I don't know if he called for it like immediately next, but he did mention the possibility. And honestly, I want to see that next. Kevin Holland versus Joaquin Buckley too, because I mean that fight happened back in I want to say 2019 or 20. Actually, I think it was a pandemic fight, so I think it was 2020. But regardless, it's been almost 3 years, maybe over 3 years since that fight, and they both improved. But also, they're both kind of in a weird place right now. Like Kevin Holland, he has the fight coming up with Chiesa in late July. Depending on how that one goes, I would be totally down for a rematch with Joaquin Buckley.
See, but I think Holland will be back in the rankings after that. Would he really want to take a fight against?
But also, would he? But that also depends on if he wins.
True.
So
true.
I think like I think if he loses, it makes more sense. But I don't know. I think Joaquin Buckley's had a couple of. I think Joaquin Buckley is in a really cool place right now. Like he's 29. He's improving, I think, but I don't know. Like he'll win one, lose one. Like. He's the action fighter right now. So I think realistically, you give him a ranked guy, you could not give him a ranked guy. I honestly don't think it really matters. Everybody's gonna be fighting. Everybody's gonna be watching him fight. So yeah. I don't know.
I mean, when he has the potential to give you a highlight finish, and he has highlights already, man.
Oh yeah.
He's gonna go down as one of the most exciting fighters in this time period, in this era for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And he's. Like, dude, like, the knockouts he's putting up, like, Joaquin Buckley, like, you don't think about it in the moment, but he's turning into being like a fucking, a Spencer Fisher, just to give, like, an old example, like a Joe Lozon type, a Jim Miller type, like a guy that, like, although to be fair, Jim Miller was, like, Joe Lozon and Jim Miller were both top 10 guys at the time. I don't think Joaquin will ever get there, but I think, like, those were action fighters for previous generations.
Dude, he's a kung fu master, dude.
Yeah, and I think Joaquin Buckley is going to be that guy now. I think he's legitimately going to become like, the action fighter for this generation of UFC fans. But obviously it remains to be seen. And I feel bad for Andre Fialho because this was a fight where it's like, all right, we all know what's going to happen here. Like it's just one of these guys is going to die pretty much. It ended up being Andre Fialho, so that sucked. But speaking of just rough knockouts, dude, Michael Johnson, Carlos Diego Ferreira, fuck man, that one sucked. That one sucked to watch MJ go out like that.
Did you see the video where they show the same essentially punch and everything, same set, everything was the same as the previous? I was like, dang. By the way, shout out to whoever did the research on the team because
right.
That was very well done.
The Josh Emmett knockout, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Granted though, 45 and this is 155, but still.
And also, that Josh Emmett fight made me so sad. I mean, he had people have seen the knockout. I don't know too many people have seen the fight. Like, he straight up dominated. Like, that fight wasn't even close. And then all of a sudden, just one right hand with a minute to go, like, fuck,
Mm-hmm.
Man, I genuinely think so it's Michael Johnson, but Michael Johnson will be back. I think Michael Johnson is a guy that it doesn't matter whether he wins or loses. Like, you look at his resume. Let's just run it. Carlos Diego Ferreira, Mark Jacasey, Jamie Malarkey, Alan Patrick, Clay Guida, Tiago Moises, Stevie Ray, Josh Emmett, Andre Feely, Darren Elkins, Justin Gaethje, Habib, Dustin Poirier, Nate Diaz, Beneil Dariush, Edson Barboza, Melvin Gillard, Gleason Tebow, Joe Lozon, Miles Jury, Danny Castillo, Tony Ferguson, like James Krause, James the Gambler Krause. MJ has an all-time resume of just being always game,
Mm-hmm.
But
for sure.
Anyways, man, I think, rest of the card, any fights you want to go and highlight, man?
I mean, to kind of go a little bit, kind of power through them a little bit. Borshev, safe finish over to Machate. Was it Machate? I've heard it pronounced a few different ways.
I don't think it matters.
Well, regardless, safe finish there. Called that one right there. Carolina with a great performance over Vanessa Demopoulos. Dude, she's riding a little win streak, man. After having a rough stint there for a little bit. At 37 years old, approaching 38, 3 wins in a row. Felice Herring, Savannah Gomez Juarez, Vanessa Demopoulos. Could we see one last run for Carolina?
I actually, I think Carolina is she's coming on at the right time. I do think we're going to see one final run from Carolina, dude. I remember back whenever she had that 5-fight losing streak, and she's talked about it, she was legitimately depressed during that. It was a terrible time for her, and she couldn't get out of her, it almost felt like she couldn't get out of her own way. You know what I mean? And now she has her confidence back. She's won 3. She's only 37, and in a women's MMA, that's not that old, honestly. So I think that she does have potential for one more run. And I was very surprised at the ease that she won this fight. Felice Herring, the loser that was going to get cut. So I was not surprised that she won that one. I thought it was 50-50. Savannah Gomez Juarez, I thought if Carolina could stay out, avoid the big right hand, she had a very good chance. This one, I thought Vanessa Demopoulos had a very good shot to win. And I actually, if you would have gone to my head, told me, hey, Josh, make a pick, I would have picked Vanessa Demopoulos. Instead, I thought Carolina just dominated this one. I mean, I remember on commentary being surprised. I'm like, they're calling this fight close. I don't think it's close at all,
Mm-hmm.
But
it is crazy, though, looking back at that time, though, because we were talking, this is near the end of 2020. We were talking about her potentially being cut after that fight. We're like, dang, is Carolina cut after that?
Yeah. And they didn't. They did not decide to cut her. And I think that was the right decision, dude.
In the end, yeah. Could you imagine, who knows if she would have retired or where she would be fighting at, or if she even would have continued fighting. But it was nice to see her bounce back, and I don't know, hopefully we see her fight again. She fought twice last year, so hopefully we get another one. To kind of keep it going under the card, man. Gilbert Urbina, I did not, I don't know how he was going to do, but it was nice to see him get one back, man.
I agree, yeah.
After having a rough ending to his Ultimate Fighter run, man, losing to Trayshawn Gore, then they gave him the chance against Brian Battle, and for it to go the way it did, it was just like, damn, that just sucks, man, because it's like you were coming off the loss in the tough house, and then you instantly lose again you get a second chance at this thing. You get the greatest opportunity, and it doesn't go your way. You get choked out, and man, I didn't even realize that his last fight was against Battle in 2021. He hadn't fought since then until 2023. Over a year in the making for his UFC return, man. I know he had all his brothers there backing them up, so it was really nice to see, man, that brotherhood and love, and kind of they were genuinely invested in his success going forward in the UFC.
Yeah, that's pretty sick, dude. I mean, I didn't even know that his whole family was there. I just saw the highlights.
I think the two other Urbina brothers were there as well.
All right. Yeah, I mean, that was a sick finish, dude. I mean, I was very impressed with that win.
Now, someone who deserved, I think, in my opinion, performance of the night, or at least some sort of bonus, who didn't get it. No other than the Dream itself, formerly the Teenage Dream, Chase Hooper, at 155, man, looking like Max fucking Holloway out there had possessed him. All he had to do was look away and throw some punches. He would have had me convinced, dude.
Dude, Chase Hooper was looking like a modern day Roy Jones out there, man. It's just...
Man, 150. He looks physically so much better at 155. And granted, he had a very good performance against a guy who his one fight into his UFC career and lost the one before. But regardless, man, he did what he had to do against that level of competition, which is what we like to see. I feel like sometimes people are like, "Oh, he beat that guy, and dude, he's 6-1. He had only fought one other time before." But it's like he beat him the way he should, though. You know, if he's a high level and he has this high level, this potential, and this ceiling, this is how he should be beating this competition.
Mm.
Did you hear that thing that he was like having like a hard time cutting to 45? I had no idea about that.
Mm-hmm. I did not. Yeah, he was cutting from 185, I believe.
He was saying he was eating like onions and protein shakes, like some crazy shit like that, to make 45.
I mean, look, dude, I'm very happy that he fucking decided to go ahead and just say fuck it and move to lightweight because he looks so much better. And to be quite honest with you, if I knew that he was cutting that much weight the whole time, I would have suggested a move a while ago. Because I actually remember thinking he looked like a rail thin guy at 145.
Yeah, I thought.
So I feel like he was
small.
I don't even think him being at 145 is a problem. I think it was just the way he was at 145, honestly.
Yeah, no, but 150. I feel like 155 though long term is a move, and even then, I think I could see him ending his career at. Fuck, he has the body, he has the frame to go up to 85 at some point if he wanted to. I don't think he'll do that, but maybe once he gets older, he could probably see a 170 move. He's 23 years old. Weight cutting is still pretty relatively easy, I imagine, if he's managing well and doing it properly. So he'll probably have a long career at 155. Maybe once he's in his mid to late 30s, he could potentially see a 170 move if he decides to. Who knows? Maybe 155 will be the move from here on out. But fuck, man, I hope that he's able to build something up here. But he's in a tough ass division, man. 155 is no joke, so he's gonna have a hell of a time climbing those rankings for sure. But he's all the time in the world, and something that we never talk about, Josh. I feel like Chase Hooper and there's other guys like this who I think could potentially end up being guys like Dustin, like Charles, like Max. Because you got to think about the time those guys came in. They were young. They were real young. They didn't have a lot of fights, and it took them a while to get there. But like when you look back at it, it's like Chase could have that kind of career where it takes a long time, and then bam, he peaks. You know, once he's older in his mid to late 20s or late 20s and early 30s. Because I feel like people seem to forget that those guys like Dustin, like Max, and Charles were like, what, 20 years old, 19 years old or whatever, coming into the UFC, and they've been around for a long, long time. Like, they were young as well.
Yeah, I agree. That's the thing that, although to be fair though, I mean, you are kind of doing the best case scenario with those guys. There's a lot of guys that got here and they just washed out.
There's been a lot. There's been plenty, but I'm saying that I feel like if he does, that's the best case scenario if he gets to that point. I think he could. I think he's dedicated to the game, man. I genuinely believe that.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And I think that there is a lot of, there's going to be a lot of fun fights for him in the future, especially now that he's at lightweight. I think it's the right move for him. And like I said, if I knew how much weight he was cutting beforehand, like, fuck me, dude. I would have suggested this move a long time ago, but,
Think about it, Josh. He already did the Charles move, dude. He already moved to 55.
There you go. Hey, Charles New Bronx #2. Hey. I really hope so, man.
Who knows? Like I said, I think he'll be good. He's a work in progress, and there's plenty of time, man. He's 23. There's 10 years of fighting this kid at bare minimum, I want to believe.
Yeah, I agree. Anyways, man. I mean, as far as the rest of the card goes, there's a couple of quick wins to go and highlight, man. Rodrigo Nascimento picking up a win over Ilir Latifi. Natalie Silvia, who is a fucking problem, annihilated Victoria Leonardo. Victoria Leonardo, which, I feel legitimately bad for this poor woman, Like, she had arguably the most, not the worst UFC run. There's a lot of people who have had worse because she won a fight but I mean, in terms of the damage that Victoria Leonardo took in her UFC career, it might be the most of any fighter I've ever seen. She debuted with a loss to Manon Fiorot, and I believe she broke her arm in that one. And then she faced Melissa Gatto, and then she broke her arm again. And then I think she broke her jaw against Natalie Silvia. This poor fucking woman, dude. Like, holy shit.
You know what I just thought about?
And that was the last fight of her UFC deal, so now she's a free agent too.
Yeah. But you saying that about a bad UFC run, dude. I wonder did Chris Moutinho have the worst UFC run?
I mean, you can definitely make a case.
I mean, it was only
came in, he didn't just lose, he got annihilated twice.
I wasn't even expecting the second one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the ageless wonder took him out the second time, so I mean, it's just...
But yeah, no, like you saying that just made me think about that. I mean, he got standing TKO'd by Sean O'Malley.
Yeah, and then he got... I'm pretty sure the other one was also standing TKO, because he's got that dog in him, but...
Yeah, Guido Canetti.
Yeah, Guido Canetti to go. But yeah, man, I mean, that's about all I got. Oh, well, last thing I wanted to mention on this card. We got my fighter to watch this week. I don't know how good he'll actually be, but we got to shout out Temba Gorimbo. I apologize if I'm pronouncing his name incorrectly, from Johannesburg, South Africa. 11-4, decent prospect. He said that he had $7 in his bank account before he fought at UFC Vegas 73. In fact, that's also been an ongoing thing. You talked about how he couldn't pay for his classes. And guess who helped him other than UFC welterweight contender Colby Covington, who helped pay for some of his classes at MMA Masters and would bring him lunch and do a lot of things. And you know what? We've always been somebody who's always been harsh on Colby. And I think it's been deserved. We also got to give him props whenever he deserved it. And this is a fucking sick thing that Colby Covington did with it for this kid.
Thank you, nerds and virgins.
There we go. Thank you. Hey, Angel, there's nothing wrong with being a nerd and a virgin, all right? Nothing wrong with it.
Hey, man, he got him that lunch on behalf of Colby Covington Incorporated. America's champ, baby.
Exactly. See, Colby, whenever he'll have to help out people. Whenever he got knocked out by Jorge, that was a knee for the first responders. I don't know if you remember that. So.
Oh my God.
He does have some banger lines every once in a while. Like I said, like. Anyways, man. I think we should move on because we do have a lot of fan questions for this week. Angel, we put the call out. We put the call out to Instagram. We put the call out to our social medias, YouTube, so on and so forth. And we got a couple of questions, man. I like doing fan questions because it's not that often we get to communicate back with the fan base. It's always good just to talk about some different topics than we normally talk about. We're just previewing fights, recapping fights. First question, this one's from the YouTube comment section. McGregor Forever review. Somebody asked us to do a review on McGregor Forever. Angel, I'm not sure if you noticed, Conor McGregor's 4-part Netflix documentary came out earlier this month. I know that you watched all of it in one day, as did I, because it was a lot shorter than I actually thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like 4 1-hour episodes, and then by the time we watched it, I realized, wait a minute, only 2 hours have gone by. So, but anyways, man, what did you think about it, man?
Man, it kind of like, and I don't know if you kind of had the same expectations I did, but I didn't expect it to take the direction it did. You know, I thought it was going to be more like right after the Dustin fight, if not, I'm talking like injury fight, or a little bit before it, leading into that, and kind of some of the recovery into this year, and potentially like right up to where he's going to do like kind of tough and all that, and behind the scenes and all that. Instead, we get a full-on flashback to training camp right before the Khabib fight, and we kind of get some behind the scenes of that. Kind of find out about some injuries that happened, and we get some locker room footage after all his fights. Kind of getting a real nice deep dive into some stuff you never get to see post fight.
Yeah, I think the best part of now let's go and talk about it. I saw a lot of people were saying like, you know, this Conor McGregor Netflix documentary, it's all propaganda. They don't show it. It's like, no shit, dude. I mean, fucking everywhere you look is propaganda. If you want to get down to that technical part of it, you know, I do think that legitimately there is a lot to take away from it. I thought it was pretty interesting. You get to see, because very rarely, you know, since he's actually become like a worldwide superstar, you get to see Conor McGregor in like a normal setting, where he's not presumably. I'm trying to be careful with my wording here because we're like an actual podcast and I don't like want to offend anybody, but like, you know, the only time you really see Conor now do interviews is like whenever it's like midnight in the club, you know, pupils are dilated. Hey, been there, my friend. We got another question. We got another question later on is what do you guys do in your free time? So if you want the actual answer, it's what Conor McGregor is doing on Saturdays too. So it's like, that's the only time we really see Conor nowadays. His pupils dilated in the nightclub, being like, you know, he's just like breaking it down, literally like shifting from side to side. That's the only real setting. So if you're looking for somewhere to see like Conor like just talking like a normal person, like it was interesting to see. You don't see it too often these days, man. And also it's just cool to see like what a high level UFC, like, training camp looks like. And for Conor, we haven't seen that in a long time. And you got to see all the little things of the Khabib fight, the Poirier fight, and the Cowboy come back. And I think, I gotta be honest, Angel, the McGregor Forever documentary made me sad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think, above all else, like, if there was an emotion, like, I felt joy watching it, because if you weren't there for Conor McGregor's rise, I can't explain it to you. Like, if you were not there, I can't put into words what it was like. Right? And so that part gave me joy seeing it again. On the other aspect, it's like, we're never gonna see, like, it's a double-sided coin. We're never gonna see something like that again. You know what I mean? And for Conor McGregor, even then, I think he knows deep down inside that it's not going to happen again. Because I think he knew back in 2020, which is why he tried to do a season. And I remember at the time, this podcast is around back then. I'm sure you can go find episodes where we were like, I don't know if he'll fight 3 or 4 times like he says he wants to.
No, Josh, no, it's McGregor forever, and I will see you at the top.
And I will see, yeah, right? But it ended up happening, the season that he wanted because of COVID, and I don't think he ever, I think he knows that, like, that was his last shot to get back at what he needed to do.
Last run.
I think that was going to be his last run, and I think he knew that, which is why he wanted to get back. And the worst part is, too, is he watched the training, and he was actually putting in the work. He was serious about fighting 3 or 4 times in 2020. But then COVID came, and he fought once, and then that was that, and they ended up losing to Poirier the following year, and then broke his leg, and now we're here. So, it was kind of sad, you know. But you know, that's how I feel about it.
What moment stood out to you? Kind of since we are going to talk about it, kind of give our overall review here. What particular moments in the documentary stood out to you? Did you have a favorite episode by any chance? And if you did, which one was it?
Yeah, I don't have a favorite episode, but I will say the moment that stood out most to me is it was some anime type shit watching Conor react to Khabib retiring live. You saw the twinkle in his eyes disappear. I'm not even joking. Because for Conor, and I understand there's going to be people in the comment section probably like, Conor was always going to lose to Khabib. He was never going to beat him in a rematch. I know. Like, it's just, I know that. Angel probably knows that as well. But at the same time, Conor, you don't get to the level of success that Conor McGregor has without being borderline psychotic in terms of competitiveness. So he was a borderline psychotic when it comes to, like, I gotta get that rematch with Khabib. And then he's watching it live and he's like you see, like, he's like, oh, you know, he won't do it. He won't do it, you know? And he's kind of like, he was literally in denial. And, like, he's like, it's alright. It is what it is. It'll happen. Didn't end up happening, you know? So, I thought that was legitimately interesting. What was your favorite moment, if you had one?
Every single bit of locker room footage, dude. Every single bit of it. For the first one after the Khabib fight where he goes in the locker room, that shot of him just leaning back. You see his family there, and then at one point his son comes over and tries to comfort him, and then it goes to this shot that stood out a lot to me. It was one of his coaches sitting down. You see the UFC belt on the ground, coach looking down in sadness, and the Proper 12 bottle turned around. That just captured that whole moment as a whole. And then the other one, obviously, the locker room, man, after the Dustin fight, I think it was, or I can't remember if it was the Cowboy fight, just the excitement again, you know, kind of the contrast.
Yeah, man, I think the backstage stuff was very interesting. Partially because it's so rare to get an the big one is obviously the Khabib one. You know, whenever he goes, and that clip's already been shared online, you know, a shit ton of times. I've already seen it pop up where, like, Conor loses and he goes back to the back and he just sits down and he lets out, and, like, he lets out like a sigh, and he just keeps staring forward, and it's like I don't think he's ever been the same since. That's not me being a joke or, like, being a dick. Like, I don't think Conor McGregor's been the same since, like, something mentally changed over the course of that 2020. Whenever he lost to Khabib, and then he didn't get the rematch, he couldn't fight for a year, and then he came back to lose twice in a row to Justin Poirier, because, like I said, that's what happens, dude. Like, whenever you're borderline, literally psychotic, obsessive at being the best, whenever you're not the best, that's a massive, massive problem. So, Yeah, man, I think that's about all I've got for my own personal thoughts on McGregor Forever. I recommend people watch it. I think it's fun. It's not that big of a, it's not that major of a documentary. You don't even really need to see it, but I think if you're somebody's a Conor fan, if you're an MMA fan, you might as well give it a watch. It's only like 2 hours, So, anyways, man, if you're a Conor McGregor hater, you definitely don't watch it because they don't portray him too badly. Anyways, yeah, man. Next up is another question from YouTube. Prediction for Francis Ngannou's first PFL opponent. And I included this question, because I like to talk about the Ngannou situation. I find it interesting. I think it's going to be interesting to see what the PFL will do, in terms of the Predators' debut. However, something we should go ahead and note, Francis Ngannou's debut inside the PFL Smart Cage trademark won't come until 2024. So they have, I believe, it's going to be early 2024, around March, April. Spring, I guess, is the target date. But they still have a lot of time. So that kind of does beg the question. They have the time. They have the money. We know that they have a shit ton of investment money. We also know that anybody that fights Francis Ngannou in the PFL will make over $1 million, which means that there's a lot of guys right now that are probably all looking towards them. So, Angel, I want you to just take a shot in the dark, or at least give a couple of names. Who do you think could realistically fight Francis Ngannou in the PFL in his debut?
Look, this one's out there for you, but I've been thinking about it. I think the PFL does cross promotion, and I think we get Ryan Bader versus Francis Ngannou.
Really?
Yeah. So if they can't buy the PFL, then they'll take out the PFL themselves.
You mean Bellator?
Yeah, or Bellator, yeah.
Yeah, that's hilarious. That makes a lot of sense.
Or if they do get Bellator, Bellator's on sale or part of it or whatever it's been, the whole conversation, then I feel like Ryan Bader's obviously there as an option.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy who's been around and kind of found a lot of success at heavyweight now at this time in his career. And obviously and other heavyweights from the Bellator roster as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. And I think that if they go out and either find a way to cross-promote with Bellator or they find a way to buy out Bellator, the obvious move is going to go ahead and just be to have Ngannou versus Ryan Bader. But I do have a couple of names, actually. And then I'll tell you my most likely one. So, Angel, let's just run it down. I mean, you look at the PFL heavyweight roster, it's not going to be anybody that's currently signed to the promotion. I feel really strongly about that.
I agree.
If you look at, who even, Ante Delija, Maurice Ray, no, fuck off. It's not going to be either one of those
Dude,
guys.
those are bangers, dude. You're telling me that the PFL heavyweight champion is not going to take out Francis Ngannou, dude? Come on.
Yeah, right, dude?
No.
I think if you take, dude, there's some of those guys that I'm pretty sure
Josh, he's lucky Fabricio Verdum retired or was pushed out of the PFL. He's fucking lucky, dude. He's fucking lucky that
Fabricio said I'm pretty sure Fabricio is no longer tied to the PFL, but I know that he still is on good terms with them. He said he wants to fight Ngannou in Brazil in a 60,000 person stadium.
What a guy.
Which they could do, but I don't think they'll do that.
Why wouldn't he want to?
Yeah, I don't think they'll do it next, just because historically, whenever you do a pay-per-view, if you do it in America, it does a lot better.
Hmm.
So, I don't think they'll do that next. I think in the future of Verdum versus Ngannou fight in Brazil in one of their big soccer stadiums could be massive, but I don't think it will happen next. I don't think it's gonna be anybody on the PFL roster. I think people should be looking for a couple of names. I think Alistair Overeem got a bag and glory, but he said that he's willing to do a couple more fights and a chance for him to potentially avenge a loss to Ngannou for a massive payday. It probably looks attractive for him. Verdum is a possibility, but a slight one. I think that they may go outside the box, Angel, and I don't know what that means. I think they're going to go outside the box. I could see them even doing. One name I've seen people say that just kind of like an iffy one to think could happen. Rico Verhoeven.
I knew you were going this way. I fucking knew it. I had it in the back of my head.
I think it really could, dude. I think Rico, because it makes sense, dude. It makes a lot of sense for Rico to do it. I mean, if you look at, I don't even know how many people know who Rico Verhoeven is. If you guys don't know, he's the current Glory heavyweight champion. He's been the long reigning champion since, I want to say, I mean, fuck me, when did he win the belt, dude? Like,
it had to be
2013? Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been champion for as long as I can remember, basically.
Well, for the people who don't know, he is the heavyweight guy in kickboxing at this time.
Yeah, he's that guy, pal. I mean, he's beaten, he beat Botter twice, granted, injury, but he's you know, and also, here's the thing. I think Rico Verhoeven, if Glory had better promotion, I don't understand why kickboxing has not taken off in the States. I know that multiple promotions have tried over the years. I think if they try it now, it'll work. Rico Verhoeven has the look. He speaks well. He's an intelligent guy. He has a fun fight style. He's 1-0 in MMA and trains out of a fucking MMA gym. You know what I mean? Like, if he wants to make the move, and also it works out because it would draw more attention to Glory. It would draw more attention to kickboxing in the U.S. It would also draw more attention to Rico. And he's... Angel, I almost said it. No, but anyways, yeah, I mean, it gives him a chance to be a big star, and also, like, it'd probably be a competitive fight, because Rico, best kickboxer on the planet, I think he's also, like, 2 or 3-0 as a boxer, like, he's competed in all the disciplines. Fuck it, dude, Rico Verhoeven versus Francis Ngannou next, give it to me.
You know something, would that be the play, because the big thing is, Francis is going to fight MMA next year, not this year from what we know that for a fact. So it'd be a good time for Rico to do it, because he'd get plenty of time to prepare. Francis would be coming off a boxing camp, going into an MMA camp afterwards, and he would be out of MMA for over almost 2 years at that point, going into that. So it would be a very competitive match if Rico came into it very well prepared, and knowing that not necessarily, and Francis isn't necessarily by trade a grappler, I think it could turn into a very fun fight very quick.
Yeah, I agree. So I think that the PFL should be thinking unorthodox names. I think if they just go for, like, Fabricio Verdum or, like, an old legend, like, I don't know how well it's going to work out. I think they should really just go all in on taking a fucking risk, or at the very least getting a big name that, like, we're just not thinking of right now, you know? So, I don't know. We'll see. A lot of it depends on who becomes free agents over the next year. You know what I mean?
That too. Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. Like, Bellator, PFL, like, they might merge. That's huge, and that'll open up a lot more names. But in terms of, like, actual opponents, I think it has to be UFC guys that are leaving and they're like, we're going to get a fucking payday, you know? Like,
could you ever see a world where they get a boxing guy in there?
Yes. But
really?
I don't know who would take it, because I don't know.
Fuck,
man. I mean, I don't know.
Look, for sure there's one guy out there who's had some other...
Dillian White has fought in MMA.
As I said, for
and Lucas Brown.
There has to, and I'm sure there's another guy in there. Like, there's some other guy that we probably don't know about who's probably fought into discipline. Like, I can't remember. There was, like, some guy who's, like, 15-0 in boxing. He's, like, Ukrainian, and he did, like, an MMA match or bare knuckle. I can't remember. He fucking killed this dude.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we talked about this guy. This is a guy that fight, I think, like, a Ukrainian guy who's, like, 15-0 in boxing and might actually fight for the title soon. He actually fought Artem Lobov in, like, the pandemic at bare knuckle and nearly fucking killed him.
Yeah, I think it was him. I think that's what we're thinking of. You know, I'm sure there's some guy like that equivalent in heavyweight. You know.
Yeah, but a lot of it, just like I said, that's why I don't really like answering this question right now, because it's really hard, because we don't know who's going to be free agents soon.
They need name power too, dude. I think that's a big thing, because if he's going to fight on that pay-per-view, because it'd be the pay-per-view, because there'd be their pay-per-view super fight card or whatever, they need a name, like, desperate, because Francis is going to be the main event.
Oh, yeah. They said that you know what's interesting is they said they're not going to do a pay-per-view this year. They said they're pushing off their pay-per-views till next year.
Which
to give more time for Jake to train in MMA and for Ngannou to focus on boxing and train.
By the way, have you seen all that, like, Bo and him have been, like, hella close? Like, close?
That's very smart, yeah.
Like I'm talking, he's been there a lot. Like, I see him constantly in all these videos, Instagram reels. Like, he's somewhere in the background or something. He was there for the Loma and Haney fight. They were together for that. Which I'm like, very intelligent move, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Very tough.
For sure, man. For sure. Anyways, man. And actually, by the way, I looked it up. The guy that On paper, this is probably the most lopsided fight I've ever seen, now that I'm looking at more of this guy's credentials. So Denis Bernichik,
Yes,
out of
that's
Kiev, Ukraine, got silver in the Olympics, won the 2011 World Amateur Boxing Championships, is 17-0 and is now the European lightweight champion and a WB international champion. And seemingly for some reason in July 2021, he just said, fuck it, I'm gonna fight in bare knuckle, and he beat the dog shit out of Artem Lobov. Jesus Christ, this kid is so good that he keeps on aging worse as the day passes, you know what I mean? Like, he beat somebody on Fury versus, he fought on the undercard of Fury versus Chisora 3 in December. Like, he's actually becoming, like, a relatively, like, high-profile guy. That's hilarious. Poor Artem, dude. Poor guy. Anyways, man, I think it's about time we go ahead and move on back to fan questions, because we have one from Instagram. We talked about UC 291, Dustin Poirier against Justin Gaethje in the main event. However, BMF title on the line. The question is, what do you think about the BMF title returning? I think we kind of gave our thoughts a little bit last week, but Adrian, we want to talk in depth. What do you think about the BMF title making its way on back?
I mean, it doesn't really mean anything, but I'm down for it. It adds a little bit of something. Just it's there, bragging rights, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I don't care too much about the BMF title. I thought it made. I don't know. It's like, I don't have any beef with it. I think that a lot of people are like, it's like WWE, and I'm like, oh, guys, like, that the sport has always been like WWE. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get to pick and choose the parts that you like versus you don't. Like, it's always, our sport has always been interconnected to WWE, and now they're literally the same fucking company. Like, they work together under the same roof, so.
That's hilarious if you think about it.
I know. I mean, it is kind of funny too, though, because I remember, like, even, like, my fiance's, like, parents, I'll talk to them about, like, they'll ask me what I do for my job, and I'll try to explain MMA, and they're like, oh, and then every time they see me, it's like, oh, like wrestling? I'm like,
oh, God.
No, it's real fighting. Like, it's just
it's real combat.
And then the WWE bought them out, and I was like, well, fuck me, like, or they bought the WWE out, excuse me. But anyways, yeah, I mean, it's a gimmick. It's WWE-esque, but, like, dude, like, it does not bother me. I do think it's funny whenever Dana says things like, we're the UFC, we don't do gimmick fights, and then, like, the BMF title, like, literally at the press conference, I don't know if Angel, it was like an Eric Andre skit. Like, he answered a question about Ngannou, and he was like, we don't do gimmick fights here. We don't do gimmick boxing matches. And then literally 2 minutes before that, literally 2 minutes, if you timestamp it, he was like, the BMF title is back, guys.
I just had a realization, Josh. It's out of another name that Ngannou could fight. Yeah, in MMA and in boxing, and it makes sense.
Please, go ahead.
Tyrone Spong.
Shit. That makes a lot of sense.
They could do it, bro. They could do it. I don't know if he's allowed to box because of, Tyrone did some, he might have been on something evil. He might have done something that he shouldn't have done. He failed a test. He failed a very important test. So.
Dude, Tyrone Spong is so... you were talking about a guy that just cannot get out of his own way right now. I mean, and it's not exactly like he's even like a high profile guy. He just keeps on lucking his way into like massive fights and situations, and he keeps on just not like, he somehow found his way into against Sergey Karatanov in that Eagle FC fight, and he lost. Like, he was scheduled to fight Alexander Usyk and Andy Ruiz, and they both fell apart. Like, I know the Usyk one was because he tested positive, but I don't know what happened with the Andy one. Anyways, yeah, I mean, it's rough out there, man. It's rough out there for Tyrone Spong right now. So maybe I don't think they'll give it to him because he already lost to Sergey Karatanov in MMA, but we'll see.
Hey, he's only 2-1 in MMA, so.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I don't know if Spong is still ranked by any chance by any body, but if he would be, and Ngannou, had a boxing match against him, it'd be pretty ideal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you. But that obviously remains to be seen. Next up, man, funny enough, we just talked about Francis Ngannou and Dana White. Why is the question? The question, I'm actually going to read the question word for word. Why Dana got to be so mean to Gani? Spelled Gani. So, Angel, I'll ask the same question to you. Why Dana got to be so mean to Gani?
Because Dana hates anybody who leaves the UFC because he thinks that's the only place they can succeed.
Yeah, I mean,
to put it simply, man, that's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's just spite, dude. I mean, it's just spite. I mean, there's no other reason. Like, I saw Ngannou, like he, I thought Ngannou phrased his question really well when he responded to Dana on Twitter. He's like, why does it hurt you? Why are you so angry to see me happy? Like, it's just, cause, like, that's the thing I've never honestly understood with, like, this whole thing, dude. It's like, people are angry at, like, Ngannou. And Ngannou's always been relatively professional. He hasn't talked shit about Dana. You know what I mean? Like, he's been professional about this whole process, Even as so far as, like, whenever all the promoters were coming out and being like, like, oh, Ngannou wants too much money. Like, he didn't talk shit about him until, like, he signed. He was like, all right, now let me go ahead and correct the record. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Dana is just spite, man. I mean, it's just disappointing. It's just disappointing. That's all it is. I mean, I don't know what to say about it. I mean, I people who listen to the show very much know my opinions on Dana White already. So I don't think there's anything I could really add to this. But, Dana is who he's going to be, and I don't think that anything's going to change that.
He's never changed. I'll give him that. Like, he's always kept it the same way, man, how he feels about guys leaving.
That's true. He's always kept it the same way, like...
And it's not like he's changing. I will say the only time Dana didn't have an issue with someone leaving, or I'd say he didn't, like, down-talk him or say anything, was Shane Burrios that I can think of.
I know, which is hilarious.
I think it's just because Shane, he ended up, like, just the way it worked out. They offered him something. He was a free agent completely. And he got the offer from the PFL, and it was just better, and he went back to the UFC, and the UFC's like, well, we're not going to give you more, and, you should take this opportunity. Which, I mean, I guess that's why it was just that smooth. And I'm assuming they probably just never had any issues with Shane. Shane was always willing to fight. So it was probably just a perfect thing. And also he wasn't like a Francis or Conor or Nate level star,
Yeah, because a guy like Ngannou leaving, that actually does have the chance, like, the fact, like, I understand that the UFC is trying so hard to put out the narrative that, like, Ngannou leaving, oh, we released him, it's not a big deal, it's not this, it's not that. It really doesn't matter that much. Like, the last time a champion left the UFC was BJ Penn 20 fucking years ago. So it does not happen, because the UFC contracts are structured to make it not happen. And then after Ngannou left, and shout out to all the MMA websites who, mysteriously didn't report on it, they changed their contracts after Ngannou left to essentially prevent another Francis Ngannou. Like, there's more clauses, and so it's like, the whole point about, like, Dana has to offer you 3 fights a year, and it's a 4 fight, that's not real. None of that's ever been real. You know what I mean? They can hold you and not offer you a fight as long as 6 months. You know what I mean? And I think now it's been put up to a year. Like, that clause has changed multiple times due to legality of it. But yeah, I mean, Dana's just mad about anybody that leaves. And Dana is mad at anybody that correctly points out that, like, if Dana White and the UFC really wanted to make Francis Ngannou versus John Jones, they could have made Francis Ngannou versus John Jones. You know what I mean? This is what I always have an issue with the UFC nut huggers, dude. Like, they always get mad at the fighters for leaving and wanting more for themselves. They never ask, why does Dana White need another fucking jet? You know what I mean? They never ask, why does Dana White need another yacht? Or $50,000 to go drop to a fucking Nelk boy. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't need those things. You know what I mean? Like, Fighter Pay is the lowest that it's been right now, like, in terms of percentage, that it's ever been. And I hate to spoil the league, because that's something we're going to talk about later, but it's just infuriating, it makes me mad, because I don't know I know there's, like, a lot of new UFC fans, but it's like, dude, at a certain point, something's going to snap in your head where you're like, dude, I'm watching these people take obscene amounts of damage, and they're making the same money that I make. You know what I mean? It's just, That's
Granted,
not
though,
right.
They're doing it a much shorter amount of time though, but they're putting in a lot of work too and getting hurt.
Yeah, I mean, like people are always like, well, they fight 3 times a year. That's you make $40K a fight. That's 120. That's more than what I make. It's like dumbass. Like they have to pay managers. They have to pay their gym. They have to go. They have to try and make that money work for like 6 months to a year at a time. Like, and if the UFC has beef with you, they'll just keep you out of action. So it's a terrible system.
Your best case scenario, man, is getting a bonus in a year. Like if you get one bonus in that year, that's big. That's why you see these guys so emotional and cry afterwards when they get it, because that bonus literally helps them for the whole year. I mean, that's literally what a person makes in a year. That $50K is what you make in a year, and they're making that on one night of bonus on top of their regular pay. And that's why you see these people break down afterwards, because it's that big of money and how much it's changing their lives.
Can I admit something? I fucking hate those videos. I hate those videos for the same reason that I hate
what videos?
Just like those videos of like you'll see like a UFC fighter they'll be told that they won a bonus and they just break down. You know what I mean? Like it's nice to see somebody's life changed, but it shouldn't have had to get to that point for their life to be changed. You know what I mean?
You're not wrong, but it's an awesome moment to see that it's that.
No, for sure. Yeah. No, of course that aspect is awesome. It's the other part of like. So, for example, I talked about how Colby Covington was paying for our boy to train and that he only had $7 in his account. He's not a UFC newcomer. Like, I don't know how many people think he fought in the UFC before. He fought against AJ Fletcher, and I think he also fought in the Contender Series. A guy that's going on 3 fights in the UFC should not have $7 in his bank account. You know what I mean? Like, that's embarrassing to the sport. Like, we're the only sport that's like this. Not the only one, but the only major sport and major sporting league that is like this. Like, even...
That's the life of being a fighter, though, dude. And if you're a fighter, kickboxing, MMA, BJJ, it's just that hard, man, no matter what. Yeah. Unless you're at the top, unless you're a champ, you're not going to be living... You know what I mean? And it makes sense.
No, of course.
And it makes sense. And it's always been like that. You know, let's be honest, even boxing money, man, isn't great until you're, like, at the top.
Well, and a lot of people don't even know that part of it either. Like, a lot of MMA guys see, like, Floyd Mayweather made, like, $100 million in fight, and they don't realize that Floyd Mayweather is the only guy to have done that. You know what I mean? Like, him and Conor and Manny Pacquiao, that's it.
There's a select few people in boxing who make, like, fuck you money, and there's guys who make great money in boxing, but who make, like, generational wealth. I think generational wealth guys are, like, Canelo, probably Fury at this point.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, dude. Here's the thing when it comes to the UFC products right now. It's just... I use this phrase a lot when you and me are talking off air because we talk about like the economy and corruption and shit. I'm always just like, dude, follow the money. Like, for example, the UFC has their product fine-tuned to a current point to where I do not like it right now. I like certain fighters, and I like certain events. But the UFC product right now, where they're shitting out Apex events, and there's just like 8 Contender Series guys making their debut every week, you know what I mean, that I don't know. I'm not a fan of that product, but here's why that product's not going to change, dude. Like, they have this shit so fine-tuned. Like, think about the Contender Series guys. Angel, where do you think Contender Series guys are coming from?
Oh, dude, not even the LFA, dude. Like, smaller promotions than that. I mean,
but how do you think the UFC knows them?
Oh, through their agent. Through the same agent who manages, like, 10 other guys. Well, not even that. It's like 30, 40 other guys in the same
weight class, let alone... Yeah. Like, I believe Jason House from Iridium has like 400 or 500 agents. Ali is a similar case. Like, these guys, like, man. Like, the man, that's the fucked up part, man. The managers are in on it. You know what I mean? And you can't get in the UFC these days without one of those 5 or 6 MMA managers who are going to get you a contract for like 10 and 10. So they're fucking you over, and they're taking some of your money. But you can't get into the UFC without working one of those managers who are pretty much just working for the UFC because we have no structural fucking boundary to stop that from happening. You know what I mean? It's corruption from the fucking top down, man. Even to the fucking managers who are arguably, in my opinion, I talk about it, but no MMA media or anybody talks about the fact that managers are arguably the worst people in this equation. Because they're the ones that are purposely working with the company to fuck over their fighters. Like, that's been found in the UFC, I'm sorry if I'm, like, droning on a little bit. Like, you can come off at any point.
You know, I was going to ask you, though, how much realistically does a manager make from a guy making 10 and 10? Because your real money for a manager comes from your guys who are making the big bucks, you know?
Well, that's kind of the whole thing, right? They're not taking a huge cut. I believe it depends on the type of fighter you are, how big your skill set is. A lot of managers will take 10% as base, 5 to 10% as base, and 5 to 10% of like a $10,000 contract is not much, which is exactly why those guys have 500 clients. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much why. Like but it works out for them. It works out for them. It doesn't work out for the fighters. And I think the most fucked up thing is like, this is why like I don't argue with people about UFC Fighter Pay anymore. Because anybody that argues about UFC Fighter Pay, they're not arguing in good faith. You know what I mean? If they're arguing on behalf of the UFC. Because that's all public information. Like UFC Fighter Pay has gone down from 40% in 2006 to 13% of the company's overall expenditures in 2023. 13%. It's gone down 27% at its peak. 40%. And somebody might be like, well, what about other MMA companies? Bellator's 45. Strikeforce was 60. You know, I don't remember which. I couldn't find the information on the PFL or One Championship, but regardless, those are two examples. UFC, they're not paying anybody shit. And here's the worst part of it. In the UFC's antitrust lawsuit, which is being bankrolled by guys like Nate Corey, Kung Lee, who get no promotion from it. They get nothing from it.
But that's crazy, too.
Exactly. Nobody talks about it except for me. I try to bring it up all the time because more people should be aware about it. And you can also just look up UFC antitrust lawsuit and you can find all the documents that have been presented in the case. And I believe Nate Corey's talked about how they found there are managers. So the UFC they get in contact with the UFC. The UFC would be like, hey, we'll do 14-14 for this guy to start. And the managers would be like, no, well actually let's do 10-10. We can work with you. You know what I mean? They have found multiple examples of managers taking less money to get the UFC to like them. It's the craziest shit. Corruption from the top down, and everybody's just like, well, why did the Francis Ngannou just fight John Jones? It's like, dude, I would love to see Francis Ngannou fight John Jones, but until more people take a stand, until more people grow balls like Francis Ngannou and are willing to take that hit, it's gonna stay bad. That's the thing, man. People want to talk about how this change or that'll change with just with time. But dude, why do people think we don't get to the point in, where we are in history without good men making decisions, you know what I mean? And taking hits when other people aren't willing to. And, if there's more Francis Ngannous, then things will change, but if there's not, then things won't change. So that's about my thoughts on that and, the UFC's business model at the moment. And, that's why Dana White hates Francis Ngannou so much. You want to know the real answer? Just fucking greed. That's why. That's the only reason why. But I think I went on probably way too long about that subject.
No, you're good, man. I get it. I'd love to see these guys get, just be in better spots, better positions to be able to succeed in the sense of, opportunity choice and being able to get out of contracts if they want to take an opportunity somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. MMA's in a bad place right now, and we're on the verge of seeing how the war is going to be won. You know what I mean? The UFC's paying a lot of politicians to essentially stop any sort, because corruption's legal. Shout out Angel. It's all connected, dude. It's all connected. Shout out Citizens United, which allows for the UFC to pay off politicians to make sure any actual legislation can be done to stop MMA. But still, even then, the courts are still arguing over right now. So, like I said, we're at a precipice where we're going to go ahead and see how the war is going to be won within the next couple of years, and we'll see how it goes. But anyways, man, I think it's about enough time because we got another question from Instagram in terms of actual fight and breakdowns. Ooh. Does the Sugar Show have a chance? He's never fought an elite wrestler to this point in his career. Angel, what do you think, man? Obviously, talking about Sean O'Malley going to be fighting Aljo in August, likely. What do you think, man?
I mean, he has any chance like any fighter, man. A puncher's chance. And obviously, he has a jiu-jitsu game that we really haven't gotten to see. That I know he's pretty proactive in his area. Likes to roll a lot, go out there, likes being in the gi. We've seen him at some of these quintet events before, where he's gone against guys like Gomi, Hector Lombard, Gilbert Melendez. So he definitely has ground capabilities. The thing is, will his ground skills be able to match up against a guy in Aljo? And look, impossible to say, right? Like I tell Josh in private, I think he has a good chance as anybody does, right? It's whether or not does he show up on that night and not underestimate Aljamain Sterling and do what other people haven't been able to do, because it's not like Alger's getting these guys out of there. Alger's getting to decisions, and even then they're still relatively close, and even in some people's opinions, the other guy won. It's can Sean O'Malley be on the other end of that and get the decision for himself, or get the finish and not even allow it to get a scorecard and make it his show? Can it actually be the Sugar Show?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I think the interesting thing is I honestly have no idea. I mean, the thing about Sean O'Malley is I saw, Aljo talked about how, the one time that he was on his back, he got smashed by Marlon Vera. And the only other time we've also seen him on his back is when Peter Yan was taking him down. He kept on getting back up. I honestly don't know. And I think everybody should be cautious about this fight for that reason. We've seen Sean O'Malley compete at a lot of jiu-jitsu events over the years, and he's looked pretty damn good on the mats. But obviously that's just on the mats, different than a fight. I think the Sugar Show has a chance. I think a lot of people are being, and I say this as somebody who's like a hardcore Aljamain Sterling fan. Like, I've given him a lot more credit than a lot of other people are willing to do at this point in his title run. But I'm not willing to say it's a guaranteed win, because you know what, dude? We have not seen the Sugar Show fight an elite wrestler. A lot of people think that's just going to be like, oh, well, he's going to go get fucked up. But like, dude, I'm just going to give you an example. We talked about him earlier, Conor McGregor, Chad Mendes. I heard the same thing. You know what I mean? Oh, he's never fought a wrestler before. And he's a striker. He must just be terrible at it. Like, no, Conor is able to get back to his feet, and he was able to win that fight with his striking. Granted, got taken down a couple times, but he was able to readjust the fight to where he needs it to be. Aljamain Sterling is going to take down Sean O'Malley. It's a question of, can Sean get up, and can he get to positions where he's able to get back to his wheelhouse of striking and put it on Aljo? That's the big question, because he's going to be taken down.
Yeah. I think a lot of times people, when they think of matchups like this, where it's like, you got a guy who's never maybe fought a lot of guys with a specific skill set, and like, can he do X and Y to counteract that? It's more or less, can he not get to those spots to begin with and do what they're good at? It's not about standing up with Israel Adesanya. It's, can you find ways to counteract Israel Adesanya's stand up and take it to the ground in a place where he's not allowed that comfortably, keep it on the ground and not allow him to get up where he's the most dangerous, That's the thing. And that's why Aljo's going to fight the way he does. He's not going to stand with Sean O'Malley. I mean, he will, but he'll stand to get to his wrestling, Just like Sean will counter wrestle or use jiu-jitsu or use positions to get back to his feet and get into the stand-up where he's comfortable. It's not a matter, it's not so much of, can Sean wrestle? It's more or less, can Sean counter whatever's being brought at him? I feel like a lot of times people want things to be like, they want guys to be good wrestlers. They just want to be everything, which is not ever going to be. There's very few guys who are ever going to be good at everything in MMA,
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like, look, this is going to sound very goofy, but I'm going to put this in Gamer 2. Think about an MMO character. A character that's good at a little bit of everything is not, they're not going to be a very good character, because they can do a little bit of everything, but they'll never stand out at anything. So how they, like if you have a character that does damage and a character that heals, well, if he does a little bit of healing, a little bit of damage, then he's just mediocre. He's not going to be great at one thing or excel at one. You have to excel at one and have the other ones behind it so you can be complete.
You know what's funny is you make the video game comparison, and I giggled, not because it's a bad comparison, but because video games, like RPGs and combat sports, are almost hilariously linked if you think about it. Like, they all have, every fighter has their strength. Like, they all have their own techniques that they specialize in. You know what I mean?
Their archetype thing.
Fighting is literally just an MMO when you really think about it. So it's just,
yeah.
But anyways, yeah, I mean, I think you put it really well there, man. I really think, final thoughts on the Sean Aljo fight. Don't want to preview too much. He's going to get taken down. Like I said, it's just, can he get himself to a position where he can get up or find some success even on the mat? Maybe crazy things have happened. Takes the back. Maybe we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? Just,
you never know, man. For all we
exactly.
we get let me think. How would I, Murgabamedov, Sean Murgabamedov, Sean
exactly.
O'Malley Murgabamedov.
But anyways, man, yeah, I mean, to close out, does he stand a chance? Yes.
Like anybody.
Yeah, man. Yeah, very good chance.
Not one-sided.
Yeah, I mean, I'd put him as the underdog, but.
Well, yeah, you're going in against the champ. Unless you're like some dominant guy who's finished everybody going into your championship fight, I doubt that, he'll be a favorite,
Yeah, for sure. So, anyways, man, next up, this one's from Instagram. They asked us, are you a fan of influencer boxing? The answer is yes, but should it be taken, because we talk about it all the time, but should it be taken seriously? Like,
well, it depends what you mean by seriously, which is funny that I'm even bringing this up, right? Because it's like, he's asking us, are we taking it seriously? But what do you mean by seriously? Seriously in the sense of, like, do we seriously think these guys are competitors, or do we seriously think this is a good form of entertainment, or do we seriously think it's honest to boxing? There's a lot to that question. Like, you could really open that up into a lot more, But, I mean, they kind of put it a little simply, serious in the sense of, like, is it serious, like, these high-level matches boxing, like Devin Haney, Lomachenko? No, it's never going to be like that. But is it fun? Is it a freak show? Yes. I think that's more or less what it is. It's a different product from everything else. I don't look at it and think these guys are world champion. I don't think these guys are world class. I just look at it as a different form of entertainment, like wrestling, like pro wrestling or anything else like that, where there's a athletic aspect to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's actually probably the best way to put it. I look at influencer boxing almost the way I look at pro wrestling. Like obviously I'm very well aware. I mean, these fights aren't rigged. You know what I mean?
That's
probably most of them. Yeah. I mean, I can't rule anything out for sure. I mean, fuck, dude. But anyways, I mean, I think I look at these fights mostly like pro wrestling. Like, I'm looking at it for entertainment.
Yeah, they're characters. I mean, that's literally what they are. I mean, they're characters, and they're competing in combat. I mean, that's literally what it is. What's the difference? You know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, there's not much of a difference. It's low level boxing, and these people have a character or they have something that draws them in. And it works too, dude. I see more stuff about influencer boxing than I see about regular boxing or MMA half.
Dude,
I mean, MMA not as much.
I don't get why the old heads or people get mad at it. I'm like, dude, why? This isn't even in the same realm, It's not even in. It doesn't even touch, what this past weekend's card. It's not. Why do you care? Why are you getting butthurt about it?
I genuinely don't understand why people are angry.
And if you don't like it, don't give it attention. That's something I will never understand. If you do not like it, do not give it attention. If you do not like something, if you're not a fan of something, do not give it attention. If it's not hurting you, if it's not causing trouble to something, if it's not damaging. I mean, people think it's damaging the reputation. Yeah, sure, you can think that, but dude, it's not
they're wrong.
They're wrong. It's not taking away from the sport, right? Look, influencer boxing has probably done more for boxing than anything. There's gonna be at least one guy out there in the future who's gonna be inspired because of influencer boxing and take on combat in some capacity. I genuinely believe that because of these guys, and that's a good thing, man. What's wrong with getting young fans of this sport? What's young? Yeah, sure. Are they fans of the highest level competition? No, but they're a fan of the sport now. And maybe that kid or girl or guy or whoever they are will walk into a gym and get to sport. What's wrong with inspiring young people? I think that's the other thing. Their target audience is young people. That's one of the biggest markets boxing is missing right now. How many young fans does boxing have? Like, I bet you the age of 10 to 16 is almost non-existent in boxing when you take out influencer boxing. You know what I mean? Or 10
I can literally find it right now. I mean,
it's a minimal number. It has to be.
I can find it by ethnicity. Let me see if I can find it by age.
Why would they? They have fucking
okay, so the highest age demo, 35 to 44.
And you something I could have gave you that number just so you know. I was already thinking that anyways.
Yeah. UFC, it's worth noting, is 18 to 34, so they are a younger fan base. So, I mean, yeah, I definitely on the same page. Here's the thing, dude. I've said that, I think I said this on Twitter, after KSI's fight, because I saw so many people losing their fucking minds about KSI and the Joe Fournier fight, and like this whole event, it makes a mockery of boxing, it ruins the sport, and you know what happened that same fucking day? That those same people that were saying about how boxing is ruined, and about how, it's just terrible, because now we have YouTubers boxing, and we have all this shit. Did you see Rolly Romero's fight?
Dude, yes.
I mean, I think we might have talked about it a little bit on the show at some point because it was a really big deal. But I saw people losing their mind about KSI. I see it all the time. KSI, Jake Paul, Influencers are ruining the sport of boxing, Angel. They're just making it so bad. But fucking, none of them were talking about the Rolly Romero versus Ismael Barroso fight in May, earlier this month, May 13th. Title fight on the line. Rolly is a huge favorite. He's taking on Ismael Barroso, who a lot of people don't know him, but he was the mandatory. He's been the mandatory for like 3 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think since 2019. December 2019. He's been the mandatory. And eventually, Rolly was supposed to fight somebody else who I can't remember, Albert Puello. He tested positive for roids. So then they move in Ismael Barroso. And this poor guy is winning the fight easily. And then just the referee stops the fight for no reason. Rolly Romero is the champion, and there goes Ismael Barroso. He's 40 years old, never getting a title shot again. Gonna have to retire without a championship belt because of a fucking a referee who, with the worst stoppage of all time, but it's not the worst stoppage of all time because that stuff happens in boxing constantly. But Angel, the influencers.
They're the one ruining this sport.
They're ruining it. KSI boxing. That's the real problem. It's not the overwhelming amount of corruption within judging and refereeing and overall officiating. It's YouTubers coming into the sport. That's the problem.
And look, I appreciate these guys who the YouTube, JJ and them for fucking doing this because, dude, they honestly in a way brought me back to boxing, dude. Cause do you remember before that, Josh, the last boxing match I watched and I was like, boxing, you remember I texted you that night, boxing is back after Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury won. You remember that?
Yep.
And then after that, it kind of got silent, and then every other Canelo fight, and then you obviously had these young guys in the lighter weights, and like Ryan, Devin Haney, Teofimo. I was telling you, I'm like, these guys are the future. They're all gonna fight each other at some point. I was all excited. But what really brought me back to boxing was the influencers, dude. And it's the honest truth, and I'll admit it. I didn't want, and I never thought about it until now that we're talking about it. But they brought me back after being gone for years. Before that. The last pay-per-view that I bought with my family was fucking Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Money Mayweather. Biggest waste of my time, biggest waste of our money. But I bought that and watched that at our fucking empty apartment because we were moving into a new one. And I remember we still had our cable and shit at the old house, so we went back there, watched 2 fold-out chairs, and we were watching the fucking fight that day.
Yeah, I hear you, man. But I think we should move on because we got to wrap up soon. I do have to work, unfortunately, but I have an actual job. Sorry, guys, but it's just this is the fun part of the job is doing the podcast. But we have 2 more things to talk. Actually, 3 more things to talk about real quickly. But the last fan question, just a simple one. What do you guys do in your fan time? I've already said, Angel. The question. What do you guys do in your fan time? Drugs. That's what it is.
Nah.
Nah, what do you do in your tell people, what do you do in your free time, man?
I just play, dude, I love playing games. It's my favorite hobby of all time. Getting on my computer, playing games, play a lot of Counter-Strike. Just anything inherently competitive game-wise, I love playing any competitive format. Obviously, always trying to watch fights, staying up with the fight game. Basically only listen to podcasts most of my free time. Even though I've been getting into music more. I entered my middle school white boy phase, Josh. I've been listening to
Mac Miller?
Oh no, dude! I've been listening to a lot of 3 Days Grace as of recently. Yeah, Josh. This should have been like 10 years ago, but it's happening now.
So I guess you could say it's the animal you are becoming right now.
Yeah,
you keep listening to all that 3 Days Grace.
Yep. But I'm loving it, dude. I'm loving every second of it. I'm really enjoying it. So,
I love that. Actually,
outside of that though, it's not much outside of that. I'm like a big fan of TV shows, watch anime. I need to get back into working out. At one point, man, working out was like a big portion of my life where I literally work out 6 to 7 days out of the week consistently, dialed in on my diet. Like it was one of the things that I really enjoyed, the process of being at the gym, which I need to get back into, man. I really do. But it's one of those things that's hard once you haven't done it. Once you're out of it, it's hard to get back into.
It is, and that's what I'm actually doing right now. You guys want to know what I actually do? Like, I make the joke I do a lot of drugs. I mostly just get high occasionally, but and I don't drink at all. So, I'm actually like relatively tame. I'm actually like really boring, which is partially why it's funny that I said that. I play a lot of strategy games these days.
Fuck that, Josh. I know you're at the club every fucking weekend.
Hey, shut up, dude. Don't blow my fucking spot right now, okay?
I know you're out there every weekend, man, going crazy. Bottle service only, private tables every night. surrounded by women.
Angel, I have to shit on Dana so that way people don't realize that me and Dana White are actually betting buddies. Me and him are out at the slots every Saturday.
It's actually, you and Dana White are actually the same person, Josh.
Angel, I've never told you, this is actually a wig. Anyways, yeah, I mean, what do I actually do? I play a lot. I play video games. I read a bit. I mostly just probably like watch TV. I work out, man. And like Angel mentioned, like, I go through phases. Like, I have like a bike at home, like a stationary bike. And I have like a really simple one. I don't have any of those fucking nice, cool ones.
Dude, I wish I had one, like an assault bike. Dude, I'd love to get one of those.
And also I got some hand weights, but you know, I have at my mom's old house, I have my old heavy bag with a bunch of all my old weights, and so I do boxing about twice a week, and now I'm getting back into heading to the gym at my apartment complex, lifting big boy weights, running 2 miles. Because I'm borderline psychotic. I can't be one of those people that eases into it. You know what I mean? I just throw myself all the way in, like Angel. Monday is when I started. Started going to the actual gym close to me with like all the shit on Monday. And I did like 30 minutes of weights, and I did 2 miles of like just like running on,
you know,
like,
what I was going to do?
On a high incline. And then I can't walk normally now.
You know, I have a heavy bag downstairs, man, and I recently thought it because I looked up a Muay Thai school, and I thought about buying some Muay Thai shirts and just going downstairs and just getting, like, conditioning my body to go there and actually do Muay Thai.
You should do it, dude. You should do it.
Yeah, so, I don't know, maybe in the future, maybe you guys might see some behind the scenes footage if I do end up doing it. I don't know, I need to get in shape, though, because I will literally be dying every time I go, dude, because, bro, you throw a few kicks in, dude, even if you're in relatively decent shape, bro, you'll get tired.
Oh, yeah.
You get tired. I've seen it, man. I fucking... I remember I was with a buddy a while back. He came over and he was fucking around on the bag, and I saw him kicking. And after a little while, man, I saw he got a little tired. And he's not like fit, but he's not out of shape. He just looks fine. He looks like right. You know, he was a healthy human being, I would say. But I saw that fucker gas after a little bit. And I was like, yep, that's about right.
People don't realize the difference in gas, dude. Like
cardio for all.
Yeah,
sports,
you can
man.
run. You can do if you can jog for like a long time. That's cool, right? But it's different types. I noticed like whenever because I've been doing like I haven't gone to the actual gym near me, but I've been doing boxing like once, twice a week.
Dude,
so
what's one of the dumber gym things you've ever done or insane kind of like workout stuff that you did that you I don't know was a little out there? I'll tell you mine to give you an example. Josh, at one point when I was really into working out, I remember I saw this at the TV ad. It was a Ronaldo ad. I don't know if you've ever seen it, where he gets switch bodies with a kid, and at the end the ad is like and it's Ronaldo in the kid's body, and the kid's like, you know, you kind of see him training in a smaller club and then getting offers, and he makes it to a European club, and the kid's in Ronaldo's body, and he's trying to figure shit out and trying to figure out how to train and get better, and it's like Freaky Friday. And I remember one of those, the kid, or Ronaldo's in the kid's body, and they go on a run with all his teammates in his small club, and he grabs a backpack and he throws weights in it. Dude, I shit you not, Josh, remember like when I first moved into this house and I didn't have a gym membership yet, and we were still in school and I didn't have a car either, I grabbed a string backpack, I threw like 2 plates in there, and I went on a run.
Dude, I love that.
Yeah, dude.
I love that shit, dude.
So I don't know if you've ever done anything dumb like that or
I've never done, you know. I mean, so I haven't really had to do anything like that. Like, I pretty much, the way that I've worked out my whole life, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it's going to sound borderline psychotic what I'm about to say. So, okay, so the way that I like, so I've always worked out. Like, I did not really work out until I was like 12, 13. My family had like a heavy bag in the basement. Then I would just work on, because, for example, I grew up doing Kenpo karate. You know what I mean? I think I got like red belt or some shit. I don't know. I feel like most kids did some form of martial art or whatever, I feel like. Mine was like karate. I never feel like I actually learned anything from it. Just in case you're worried, if you're thinking of putting your kid in it, I don't think I actually learned anything. But anyways, yeah, I started working on around 12, 13. I would just hit the bag, and then my family got like this big basketball hoop, and they put it at the end of our driveway, and I would just go out there and I would shoot hoops for Angel, I literally go out there and just do it for like hours, like 3 or 4 hours in a row. Just in the summer, I had nothing else to do. I was like 14, 15, and that's pretty much how I lost most of my weight, dude. But I haven't really done anything borderline psychotic outside of that. It's just going outside and shooting hoops for a ridiculous amount of time because it was
not throwing multiple fucking plates in a backpack and going on a fucking run.
Not like that. But yeah, I mean, in terms of what I do in my free time, I really just work out, dude. Like,
I guess I'm just crazy, dude. I remember doing that, dude. It was hot as fuck. I remember my string backpack, I couldn't tie it properly, so the weights were moving around in the back as I was moving, so they were shifting. So it fucking sucked, and I kept, what I would try to do is, pull it forward and hold it tight, and I had essentially, this cross, an X across my body when I was holding the bag behind me, and I was just going, dude.
Yeah, dude, I mean, and anyways, man, I feel we should probably move on. I mean, just because I gotta close out in a second. I mean, real quick thoughts on Haney Loma. I scored at 7-5.
Banger seems to be the consensus. I haven't personally done an official scorecard, but from what I'm hearing, that's the common one I'm hearing. That or a draw. I also and from what I'm hearing, and also from what I saw, because I caught the second half of it, at round 6 and on, there were some hard rounds to score in there, man. I'll be completely honest. Did I think Devin won afterwards? And from what I saw and from what I heard and trying to catch up and watching the previous round, it didn't seem like it. But overall, man, a great boxing match, a fun night. The card itself, boxing cards are always a bit But what can you expect, man? It's not MMA. Not every fight's gonna be a banger, let alone in boxing. And obviously, they're trying to build up a lot of young guys, and sometimes they don't get the, maybe appropriate competition or whatever. But nevertheless, man, good for Devin. I'm curious to see who Devin takes on next. Obviously, he's a free agent now, so that's a whole another conversation we'll have another day potentially, Josh. But I think we'll close it out there.
Well, one last thing we do have to talk about. I feel we got to give a quick shout out. Not a quick shout out. I guess it's just interesting. Dude, Greg Hardy, Dude, Greg Hardy is like a modern. I don't know what the fuck you could say about this guy. Every time I see him, he's the friend that's unemployed. You know what I mean? He's out here doing side quests and shit. You know what I mean? He worked at Walmart for a day. He fought in BKFC.
No, he didn't work at Walmart. He did he's like a sales rep for Spectrum within the Walmart. That's what.
Which are the worst people on earth, as far as I'm concerned. Them and the guys that you walk by in the mall that want to clean your shoes. Those are my God. Favorite people on earth. I've just started, anytime I'm at the Walmart, because at the Walmart closest to me, there's always a Spectrum people. I've just started saying shit that doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
You started running. You gotta start speaking a different language.
Well, you got Spectrum at your house? You're like, nah, man, I can't talk. It's Tuesday. Just fucking keep on walking. It's just.
No, I got Dish Network. I got Dish Network.
I put all my money into Circuit City. I can't get Spectrum.
It would be better, Josh, if you were like, I have Time Warner Cable.
Yes, that's tough. But anyways, Greg Hardy, he's the unemployed friend doing side quests. He was at Walmart, Spectrum, he did boxing. He did boxing and then did bare knuckle, even though he was doing good in boxing. Well, he's back in boxing. He's fighting in the Team Combat League. He fought twice in one night, by the way. He knocked out one guy, got a decision win over the other.
Greg Hardy, by the way.
Yeah, Greg Hardy's just booling, dude. What do you think about this?
Hey man, as long as he can find success, I wish he would just stick to the boxing though. Fuck the bare knuckle, fuck the boxing, or fuck everything else. Go just into boxing. He's already beat Hasim Rockman Jr., man. Which I know Hasim is not a heavyweight by trade. It's a light heavyweight, right, or cruiserweight, something like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like just the fact that he has that under his belt, just that kind of a good win. I would have wished he would have stuck with the box, just regular box, especially since he can make potentially some good money there, and he has a following already.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Good. I've been good for Greg Hardy, man. I just thought it was interesting. I did not see anybody talk about this, and if it weren't for us just looking at it as I don't even know where you saw it, but.
I saw it on Twitter, because where the fuck else would you see it,
Yeah, there you go. Fair enough. Anyways, man, that's about all I got, man. Any closing thoughts before we go and close out, man?
No, man, I'm just excited to go get into next week, have a UFC card, and obviously get back into the mix, because, man, it just sucks, man, having a week off. I hate it. I love having a card every week. I love having to watch something every week. Because, dude, on Saturdays when there's no card or nothing going on, I feel fucking useless, dude. I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel fucking useless. I don't know what to do. I honestly, I get so aggressive, Josh. I go outside and punch a this game.
I hear you, dude. Same page. But you know what people can do on Saturday? Since there's no fight, you guys can listen to this podcast. And you can also look us up on Twitter because it's at Courtside Sound for all things related to the show. I'm at Josh Evanoff on Twitter. He's at Angel_Ortega_01. And that's all we got. So hope you guys enjoyed the show. Peace and bye, please. Mouse click.